do not get to treat gay men like accessories. Hi guys, it's Jessica. Welcome and welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel / podcast, where I discuss all things style, wellness, pop culture, and whatever else comes up from week to week. Today's episode is going to be a little bit longer. To be honest with you, I am only a couple of episodes away from the goal that I set for myself for the year of how many episodes I was going to do. I'm going to give it a few sleeps, but I may or may not be ending the podcast after this year. It takes a lot of time and effort and money actually to produce this, and I appreciate absolutely every single person that is here, that has been here, that checks in, that listens, that subscribes, that shares, all of the things. However, the return on the investment just may not be enough for me to keep going. I may need to kind of pivot to do some other things, just to be financially secure, to stay afloat as a creative, to stay in creative flow. I would be lying to you if I told you that it didn't somewhat impact my confidence, to see how few views and listens and everything that I've gotten as I've made a concerted effort to be more consistent. It feels a little bit like a mind fuck, to be honest. And I know that I'm working against a lot of things. It's really hard to pull people's attention these days. Like, people's attention spans are shit. And besides that, if you're talking about anything substantive, it's just hard to get people to stick around. So I'm not faulting anybody. It just may be time to kind of like lay this to rest. Said that to say, the next couple of episodes are going to be a little bit longer. I'm going to be talking more because if I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out on my own terms. With that being said, this episode, we are talking about a certain big budget film and what the fuck is going on with that cast. Because apparently we're not allowed to say nothing about it, but we need to talk about it as a family because something ain't right. We also need to talk about Funky Dineva and what's going on with Tamar, because hello, is everybody okay? And the answer is no. No one's okay. And also Rolling Stones and this bullshit list of the top movies of the year. So before we get into that, we have to kick everything off with our fashion segment as per usual. So a couple of things on the fashion tip. If you are new here, fashion really drives me. Style, rather, is a huge driving force in my life. Right now we are fun employed. We are okay. We're not stressed. We're not worried about anything. We're not desperate. We are actively interviewing, but we're good, right? But we are fun employed, and following some traumatic things that happened leading up to this, my therapist had to tell me, girl, you are depressed. And it shocked me a little bit because I've been managing my depression so well for the past few years that I'm very functional when I'm depressed. Like, it's not so much that I can't get out of bed, but it's a little bit more, it's more sneaky now. So sometimes my therapist has to tell me, like, baby, you're not well right now, okay? So one of the things in my toolkit to get out of that is to make sure that I'm committed to a routine, because humans really benefit from routine. And I was journaling and I was like, why can I not get in a routine? Like, when I was employed, it was so easy for me to rise with the sun and, you know, with no problem. I could work out, I could have my breakfast, I could ease into the day. And that's just been really hard for me lately. And I realized that it's because one of the things that got me up and out of bed in the morning was having an outfit to look forward to. I would lay my outfit out at night, I would steam it, make sure that everything was good to go, put my change of shoes in the right bag and all of the things. I obviously haven't been doing that because I haven't had a job to go to. So lately I have been laying out an outfit, making a routine for myself so that I do get up and get out of the house, go to the library, do some work there, even if I just go there and write one paragraph. My deal with myself is I have to get up, I have to get dressed, I have to leave the house. That's it. that's been really helpful for me. Another thing that has made that somewhat challenging is our healthcare system is what it is. So I haven't, I've been off of my GLP-1s now since June, and my insulin resistance is very difficult to manage without GLP-1s. Insurance will not cover it anymore. The saga of trying to get it covered and affordable continues. So said that to say, I have gained quite a bit of weight quite quickly, if you can't tell in my face or from my videos. And that makes it hard because my clothes don't fit. So I've had to go out and just buy some things to wear during this transition. But doing that has really helped boost my mood and get me a little bit, up in the atom, right? So that's that part. The other thing is I am on Substack. Subscribe to your girl. Okay, I will be putting the link in the episode description. Subscribe to your girl. It's free, okay? I don't want to hear nothing about it. It is free. Hello, somebody? So I'm obsessed with Substack. I think that it's an incredible place for independent writers to generate money, honestly, but to also be able to express ourselves without being tied to a major publication. I don't know if you guys know, but like media is in somewhat of a free fall right now. That's another conversation for another day. Anywho, so absolutely loving Substack. It's almost like Tumblr meets old school Pinterest meets old school WordPress. I don't know. I'm loving it. So I'm subscribed to several people. One of those people is Louis Pisano. He is a journalist, American journalist, living in Paris. And his newsletter is absolutely phenomenal. As a lifelong student of fashion, I'm gaining so much knowledge from him. And this week really grabbed me. If you don't know, there's this huge debutante ball that took place in Paris. It's where the 1%, where their daughters are introduced to high society. It's quite antiquated. I don't really know how I feel about stuff like that because I don't come from the kind of family where that's a tradition or where that's something that we would do. I really don't know how I feel about upholding those kinds of systems. But it's also not something that I've had to confront because I ain't got no kids and I'm well beyond debutante age. Hello, somebody. So this particular writer follows it pretty closely. So I was reading up on what he was saying about it. One of the Black families that debuted their daughter was Angela Bassett and Courtney B. Vance, which we are always rooting for. And I just want to pull over here right quick to say, within the scope of America and then Black America, we also have to remember that there is something called class and wealth solidarity. These people do not live in the same world as we do. And even as Black people, they may endure some of the things that we do. They have far more privilege than we do. So they are always going to be in rooms and places where we wouldn't be and where we might have questions about like, girl, why is you there? Right? So, but good for them. We love it. Their daughter looked absolutely beautiful. She wore like a white and gold Stephen Rowland gown, all the things. What happened was after he, put out this newsletter, later that week, people caught wind of the fact that Schiaparelli, one of our favorite fashion brands, Schiaparelli is the first fashion house that I had to study when I first started formally, like my formal fashion education at FIT. And, or was that Georgia Southern? I don't know. Time is a social construct. And I'm a huge fan of Schiaparelli. I feel like, especially because she was a rival of Coco Chanel, who was a Nazi sympathizer. And you know Schiaparelli because you've seen people in it. Whenever you see people in those really bold, gold statement pieces, very ornate, that's Schiaparelli. Anyway, we love that house down. Well, the creative director there, who everyone loves, he's from Texas, he dressed a young lady who is the daughter of Trump's crypto AI czar. I forgot his name, but his daughter was there. And Schiaparelli dressed her, and a lot of people are extremely disappointed and feel let down by this fashion house that seems to support diversity because they've dressed some of our favorite Black girls. And this writer, Louis Pisano, made another like follow-up piece just basically saying, this is how the system works. There's a lot of, there's a long history rather of designers, especially couture designers, creating things for people whose money is not clean. And that's quite obvious when you just take a brief second to think about it. Couture is so exclusive. There are people who exclusively wear designer who can't afford couture. It's wildly expensive. It's literally the 1% are the only people who can afford to go to these ateliers and get these bespoke pieces for these different seasons. And I'm a huge fan of couture because they aren't so beholden to the rules of capitalism in some ways, in terms of American fashion. They don't have to do the see now, buy now. However, capitalism gonna catch you everywhere. There's a long history of these fashion designers styling and dressing and providing for very unsavory characters. Apple TV did a beautiful series about Dior where he was confronted with having to create gowns for the girlfriend of these Nazis. It's a whole thing. And reading this article, which I will put the link in the episode description, it's made me think about something that I've thought about often, which is like, as a fan of fashion, as a student of fashion, not a consumer of couture, because we are not there yet. I don't know if we want to be, right? How do we engage with this? What does this mean for us when we know that there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, and these designers are not fantastically wealthy themselves? They need these, these very wealthy clients to stay afloat. It's kind of like everyone is under the gun of capitalism. So do we give them grace? Do we write them off? And how can we write them off when we're not even their consumers? They're not going to feel us not supporting them when we're not even their customers, right? So what do you really do with that, as opposed to have the knowledge, enjoy the clothes, look at what it means culturally, and kind of move on? So that's something that I'm thinking about. I really encourage you guys to subscribe to this guy's newsletter. He's Black. We love him. He's very informed. He is entertaining. He's someone who I would like to have brunch with. He seems like a good time. So I'm going to put that link to his Substack and mine, hello, in the episode description. And that's it for our fashion segment. A little bit longer, but again, this is my show. I'm going to do what I want to do, especially because this might be it. So stay tuned. We'll be right back to talk about our main topics for the episode. All right, guys, welcome back. Let's get into the mess. All right, I'm going to handle this as delicately as possible because I know this is a really serious issue that a lot of people struggle with. I don't have the statistics in front of me right now, but trigger warning, we're going to be talking about disordered eating. There is a big budget film franchise, Broadway franchise, that a lot of us are very confused about what's happening with the cast. A lot of the cast is looking extremely thin, and there is this debate back and forth about whether or not it's okay to comment on this, to question this. Can two things be true at the same time? Typically there can be, where it's not okay to criticize or critique people's bodies in a public forum, but at the same time, people who are genuinely fans or people who have experienced eating disorders are concerned. And I'm just curious if there is a framework for how we can address this in a way that's not harmful, because we don't know what's at place, right? What's taking place. We don't know what's happening on that set. We don't know what's happening with them personally. Some people have said maybe it's substance abuse. Some people have said, well, this is just like a lesbian relationship. Some people have said this is how theater kids act, right? Like the way that the two main characters of the cast are so locked in with each other, right? It's like, did something happen on the cast that they have like trauma bonded? Like, what's going on? And there's a lot of discourse surrounding this. And what I'm thinking about, because over here we approach things with curiosity over conviction, I'm wondering if we have body positivity our way into harm, right? Because there has to be a way. It's just so strange when we talk about things in a public space. It has to be so black or white because most people aren't capable of thinking with a tinge of nuance. Shout out to Dominique Morgan. And there has to be a way for us to say, hey, I don't mean no harm, which is my grandmama's favorite phrase. I don't mean no harm, but is everything the fuck okay? And as we're seeing a rise in conservatism, we are also seeing a rise in thinness. Thin is in mainstream. Now, as a Black girl from the South, thinness has never been our goal. Okay, people get body shamed in the Black Southern community for being too skinny, whereas, girl, you need to eat something. That's not okay either. That's another conversation for another day. So I can't relate to a desire to be as thin as possible. I don't know what that's like. And we also have to look at what happened with Chadwick Boseman, where when he started to look really thin and people started to comment on it and, ask questions and stuff, and then he passed away because he was, privately battling this disease. And so now everyone has swung completely in the opposite direction. It's like, we don't talk about how people's bodies change in public. I understand the sentiment. However, I also think about, like, people don't have any kind of problem when you talk about someone being bigger. People have no problem questioning the health of a person who is quote unquote fat, because fat is obviously relative. There are people who would look at me and call me fat. There are people who would look at somebody who is a size 6 and say that they're fat. Okay, that's a very relative term, but we look at bigger bodies and say, oh, well, I'm only commenting on it because I'm worried about her health, and Black women need to be held accountable for your health. It's not just about the aesthetic, it's about the health. Why don't you have those same concerns about very thin bodies? If you're going to publicly comment on a woman who has gained weight, I remember when they ripped Jessica Simpson apart back in the day when she was wearing these like high-waisted pants, and I think it was like a black top, and it was a really cute outfit, but people treated her like she was morbidly obese, which even if she was, she wouldn't have deserved the way that they ripped her apart. But people, it seems to be much more acceptable to talk about a person who's fat and to question how healthy they are. But when people are extremely thin, oh, watch what you say. I think that that's strange, and I think that there has to be a way that we can address this, especially when you have young girls who have so much more access to media than we had growing up, right? Like, we had TV, we had magazines, of course. Now it's in their hands, and it's not nothing for this to be seen and no one's saying anything about it. It's almost like there's like a drug addict in the family, but no one's allowed to comment on it. It's there, but we don't talk about it. Don't ask, don't tell. This needs to be addressed, and I don't know how you do that because I've not had that issue in my life. I've not confronted that. I don't, eating disorders that happen within our community, I'm sure it happens, but I think it's different. Generally speaking, the desired body type for us is still somewhat problematic because genetically you either have a small waist and a fat ass or you don't, right? And then if you have a fat ass, you're supposed to have a flat stomach. And when you gain weight everywhere. So it's like not a thing. But I can't relate to the desire to be extremely thin. I didn't have friends who were trying to be extremely thin. So I'm just curious, like, how do we address this without it being harmful? Because we can't pretend that we don't see what we see. And what I am observing from people who have battled eating disorders is that the closeness that we're observing between these two people is a part of the disease, that people who are deep in eating disorders, they kind of like link up and lean on each other, because if they turn to their family and friends will force them to get help. That's what I have read. That's what I've seen. I don't know. Somebody got to say something. Somebody got to go around there and see about them girls and see if they okay, because I just don't know if everything okay. It don't seem like everything okay. And I think the same thing about Britney Spears. That's white people business, but is Britney Spears okay? I'm not saying my girl needs a conservatorship, but somebody got to go around there and see about her. Moving right along. Let's talk about Funky Dineva. I was late to the Funky Dineva party. I started watching Funky Dineva's YouTube videos way after everyone else was like really, watching them. And I unsubscribed maybe 2 years ago. I can't remember what was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. But in general, I have enjoyed Funky Dineva. I think that it's been really fulfilling, to be honest, to watch him grow as a social commentator, as a media personality, to see these different iterations of the brand. It's been really exciting to see. I have to, honestly, I consider him to be one of my early inspirations for starting a YouTube channel, right? And I have to also admit that as a person who wants to be an ally, I don't think you can call yourself an ally to the LGBTQ plus IA community. I've learned a lot from him about how to be a good ally, right? However, and that's still a Gen X black man from Miami, Florida. And a lot of what he has said has been riddled with misogyny. He says a lot of problematic things, but what I do appreciate is that we are watching someone in real time evolve as a person. And I can say that he has come a long way in some of his perceptions of things, especially in the way that he talks about Black women. And I think that there is a larger conversation to be had about Black women and Black gay men and Black femmes, who present different from the stereotypical norm, about that relationship, because it's the chicken or the egg. It's, well, you're using our lingo. Well, no, that's our lingo, and da-da-da-da. Whatever, child. Okay, under this regime, we need to just stick together, but I get it. People want credit for their things, and I understand that. As a Black girl from Atlanta, I want credit for my things. I feel a way about the way nail art just belongs to everybody right now. But for years, if you had long, flashy nails, you were ghetto. And now it's girls on the Upper East Side with a full set, fully blinged out, $250, $300 sets, and that's okay. Anyway, recently, Funky Dineva has been beefing with Tamar Braxton. Months ago, Tamar Braxton put out a statement saying that she came home, she blacked out, she woke up in a pool of blood, she had missing teeth. She said that her mobility was compromised. She doesn't know what happened to her. At some point, she started kind of taking a back seat to people speculating that Funky Dineva had something to do with this. She then released an EP accompanied by a music video that starred Mendices of Love and Hip Hop, who is married or not married, don't nobody know, to Yandy of Love and Hip Hop. And it was like, why would he be your leading man? When I think about it, I don't know what Mendices has ever done professionally except for be on Love and Hip Hop and go to jail and be partnered with Yandy. I don't know what that man's profession was, but why would he be your leading man in your music video? So Funky Dineva was getting drugged as being a messy gay, and this why I don't hang out with gay. And let me just say this. Whenever you go to say this why I don't fool with gay men, baby, that's because you homophobic. You can't paint with a broad brush like that, because that's just like somebody looking at Love and Hip Hop and seeing them girls fighting and saying this why I don't fool with Black women. Like, think it through. Think it through. When you paint with a broad brush, you're going to roll right around the paint on yourself. Like, let's just think it through, no pun intended. So what has happened recently is, and Funky made a video months ago and said, I'm not going to call nobody out. It's a lot that I could say, but I won't say it. But I'm telling you, Tamar, fix this now. Tell your fans the truth, or I'm going to tell, I'm not even going to say that it was a threat. He just said, hey, I'm keeping my mouth closed about what I do know. I don't have nothing to do with this. Funky Dineva co-starred in the video that accompanied the EP. So fast forward this past week, I believe, Tamar starred on L'Oreal's podcast and was saying, I don't know what happened to me, but I threw a birthday party for a friend. And next thing I know, so of course people threw Funky Dineva's name in it. And people were saying, why didn't you escort her into the house? Yada, yada, yada. Funky Dineva got tired of getting drugged, especially because he's just revealed to us that he has been diagnosed with stage 1 prostate cancer, and he has a lot going on, right? And so he's had to come back to the internet to address this, where he revealed that Tamar and Mendices have been having an inappropriate relationship for a while. He witnessed it. And the reason he didn't escort her into the house is because they had been making out in the backseat of the car and walked into the house together. So he assumed he shouldn't go in. You know what it's like if your homegirl is hooking up with her nigga, you're not finna go in her house with her. That's crazy. Especially if that's her dude. This isn't a stranger, right? And so, Funky Dineva was like, it's been a couple times that we've been out to dinner and he's popped up and we've gone out and it's looked like y'all have been ducking behind things. And she released this statement, I guess saying that she's going to sue Funky Dineva for alleging that she's had an inappropriate relationship and all of these things. And I just want to say this. As cis-het Black women, you do not get to treat gay men like accessories. You don't get to take their lingo and walk around with them like they're Pomeranians in your purse or some shit. Have them be your lackeys and all this stuff like that. And then you don't ever stand up for their rights. You allow people to be homophobic around them. You take and you take and you take from them. And when people attack them, you hang them out to dry. I'm going to tell you why that's fucked up, because that is the exact same thing that cis-het men do to us. Why are we then doing it to our brothers? Especially, these are the people who do your hair, who do your makeup, who style you, who, have comforted you when your partner has tossed you aside, who, I know gay boys who will go fight for you if your dude come at you crazy. I just feel like we don't do enough collectively to support our gay and trans brothers and sisters and theirs. I don't like it. It makes me uncomfortable. It makes me upset as a Black person. We can't afford to throw each other away, and we especially cannot afford to exploit each other like that. That is so shitty. And it's so hard for me. I always struggle to accept or believe that a person is lying, because I can't understand how you can, on a public stage, confidently just lie. That is crazy to me. So while I do recognize that, yeah, Funky Dineva has said some problematic things, and I dip in and out of the content because I do still want to support him, because I do think that in terms of YouTubing and blogging, he is an icon. He has set the stage for a lot of people in independent media, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, especially for Black people. The way that he came on and started recapping Real Housewives of Atlanta, I'm sorry, but I think that actually added to the success of that show early on, creating that community of discussion around those shows. And I would like to see Funky Dineva continue to evolve to be more of an ally to women, to cis-het women, because he does still say some extremely problematic things. He just said something that was incredibly ableist. He doesn't always get it right, but I think that's what it means for a person to be developing and growing in public. They're not always going to get it right. So I do give him a lot of grace because of what he's contributed to our culture. And I am not disappointed because Tamar is a stunt queen, but I just hate to, I hate to see this happen. I hate what I've seen people saying about him. I just don't like it. I think we could all do better to be more of a support system to each other, regardless of identity. Who is it benefiting for you to, oh, that's why I don't mess with them messy at. Baby, don't nobody want to be around you, no way. You said that like somebody was dying to be around you. When have you gotten invites to the function anyway? To be clear, ain't nobody lined up to kick it with you. Anywho, so if y'all want to catch up on that tea, go over to Funky Dineva's YouTube channel. Support him. We're sending him thoughts and prayers while he on a stick and shut-in list. And shout out to him for being so vocal about his diagnosis and how he's handling it, and encouraging other Black men to go and get themselves checked out. A huge reason why he's going to be okay is because it was detected so early. So shouts out to him for that level of vulnerability. I think that that's really brave. Lastly, let me tell you something about Rolling Stones and Billboard and all of these fuck-ass lists that these big publications and conglomerates put out, where they are obviously omitting Black people, some Black people. They just put out their top movies of the year, and Sinners is nowhere on it. At this point, this has to be rage bait. Y'all have to be doing this just to get Black people upset so that you can trend and so that people can talk about it. At this point, y'all fucking with us. I'm not going for it. And thank God we know what we know. That movie was phenomenal. They're winning a lot of other awards, and Black people know, Black creatives know, we cannot rely on awards and accolades to be validating for us, because there's a lot of reasons why we're left out of those conversations. We know that that was a good movie, but this is some next level bullshit. You cannot deny the cultural impact and just the artistry of it. How passionate Ryan Coogler was educating us about these different filming techniques. The costume design, the set design, y'all know I'm a whore for good cinematography. I hate that they were left off of the list, but I don't think that that's real. I think that that's rage bait to get us up in a tizzy and talking about shit that don't really matter. I'm not buying it. That was a phenomenal movie, and I don't give a damn if y'all agree with it or not, because y'all taste is flawed. Hello? So that's it for this episode. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe and share. And I'll be back with a couple more episodes for the year, and we'll see where we go from here. And make sure you subscribe to my Substack and his name just fell out of my head, Louis Pisano's Substack, if you want to keep up with more like fashion things. I am kind of doing an anthropological study on my Substack about the styles that I grew up with, the fashion icons who I grew up seeing, and how they've impacted my concept of fashion and what's good style. So join me over there, and we'll talk soon. Bye.